Hi, I'm Deborah Birnbaum with Gold Derby, and I am here with the excellent team behind Better Men. Hi, everybody.
Hey Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
All right,
Hello.
why don't you all introduce yourselves? I'll start with Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke Millar. I was the visual effects supervisor on Better Men.
And Cappi, you want to go?
Hi, I'm Cappi Ireland. I'm the costume designer for Better Man.
Eric?
Hello, I'm Erik Wilson, cinematographer on Better Man.
And last but not least, Will.
I'm Will Files. I was the supervising sound editor for Better Man.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. Congratulations on the film.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.
So, my first question is, how did this project come to you? Will, why don't you start?
Me? Well, yeah, of course. Start with the end of the process, right? So, the project actually came to me through the post producer Justin Wagman, who's an old pal of mine, and we've worked on a bunch of films together. And Michael was looking to work with an American sound team, specifically someone who I think would understand how to touch both the musical part of it and the sound design part of it, since the film really needed to have both sides well represented. And luckily, me and my team and Andy Nelson, our amazing mixer, and Luke, our other amazing mixer, were all available when we got the call. So it was just one of those things where, kind of magically came together just because I think luckily, timing worked out.
And Eric?
Um, I met Michael on a commercial in London, but it was a quite a nice it was a nice kind of intricate one that was very pre-planned and worked out, or we worked it out, did little rehearsals, we shot it. Patrick, the wonderful editor and co-producer, was there, and we cut it together and made everything work before we filmed the commercial. And I thoroughly enjoyed that process, and I'm guessing that Michael said, "Oh yeah, okay, he likes this kind of process. This is what we're now going to do in a on a giant scale with this film." So that's how I got to it and was invited to Australia to shoot it.
And Cappy?
I met Michael over a Zoom where he sort of pitched the film to me, which blew me away. He showed me all the sort of visual reference and explained the whole idea. And it wasn't until several months later that we reconnected and had a few more meetings because it was a bit of a process, I think, to get the movie happening, and also I think he wanted to make sure he got the right creative team. So I think there was a lot of us that got interviewed, but I was the lucky one that managed to get the job. So I was pretty amazing for me.
And then finally, Luke.
Yeah, so Michael came approached Weta maybe 3.5, 4 years ago now, to do some pre-visualization work for the musical numbers that you see in the film. And it's the way that Michael really likes to work, is to kind of, as Eric was saying, work out a lot of things, most things ahead of shooting, so that when we do shoot, we can be very specific about it. So we did pre-visualization for the 10 musical numbers in the movie, and those sequences actually became a really good catalyst to actually getting the movie greenlit. And then once it was greenlit, that was when I signed up to be supervisor for the film.
So I think it's pretty safe to say this is probably unlike any other film you've ever worked on before. What was your reaction when you heard the concept? Anyone want to start with that one?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I love the concept. Over the years here at Weta, we've worked on obviously quite a variety of different movies, but there's always been similar themes, similar genres, things like that. Um, and while the work itself was stuff that I was familiar with, having worked on the Planet of the Apes movies, the the backdrop and the space in which the takes place and the nature of it was completely new and fresh. And yeah, I think that was my initial reaction, was not shock, but more excitement, as to being able to take the work that we've done build upon it, but then take it into a completely different space and genre. Yeah.
Well, and I'll piggyback on that because I also had a chance to work on the Planet of the Apes films, as is Andy Nelson, our mixer. So in some ways, it was sort of like, going back to work with an old friend, Caesar, even though obviously a very different character. But it felt very familiar to go back to that world. But of course, the first thing that anybody ever told me about the movie was, it's about a monkey who does drugs and loses his way. And and oh yeah, and it's also based on Robbie Williams. So I was immediately intrigued by like, wait, what is this movie? But knowing Michael's previous film, I knew it was going to have a lot of heart. But I have to say, I wasn't prepared for how moved I was going to be throughout the process of making the film. I mean, the first time I watched the film, it was months ago, and the film was not nearly as finished as it is now. Visually, it's incredible now, and back then it was still you could see what it was going to be. But even in that form, largely because of the work that everyone in this call had done at that point, I was bawling the whole way through the movie. And so, it's one of those movies, you think it's not gonna hit you every time you watch the movie, but every damn time we watch this movie, I I lose it. And I think that says a lot about what kind of film this is.
Yes,
What was your
I
reaction?
agree with
So go ahead, Cappi. Sorry.
with Will. Yeah, I agree with Will. When Michael first told me the concept for it, it was like, okay, wow, how is this going to work? But I really love that what he decided not to do like a cookie cutter version of a biopic and really mix it up with something as crazy as what we've done. And when I first saw the rough cut, which would have been earlier this year, I think, when we were doing some pickups in Melbourne, Michael, because we were all asking him so many questions, what did you do here? What did you do there? He decided to sort of throw a sort of impromptu screening for a couple of us heads of department that were there. And it was just mind blowing. Like I walked out of the cinema just going, whoa, like it was incredible.
Yeah, Eric, what was your reaction when you heard the concept?
I I by I don't even think I reacted to the monkey part of it. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, it's okay, yeah, that's
Sure.
interesting. Yeah, that's quite good. I was really I've done films with CGI main characters, so I was not a kind of, but I must have reacted in some way, but it's just been with us, I don't know, the monkey part has been part of it for so long. I was just so excited to finally see it. you know and I remember there was a shot of him by the glasses when they home at mom's, and all the fans are outside, and there's one shot of him going right up to the window, which it was a lot of fun to shoot, and was very exciting, and it was amazing to see Jono do the performance of it, and then seeing the monkey being basically Jono, but with a slight lean towards Robbie, and I was like, this is extraordinary. Absolutely, yeah, mind blowing, the whole thing, and the emotion of it, and the emotion of the character is my favorite part of the whole film. The character of Robbie Williams is my favorite. I mean, it's, yeah, all the others, everything else, great, of course, the world and the spectacle and all that, but just the emotion of this character, I find absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean that's what's really, I mean, the amazing trick of it, because it's like the technical skills of it have actually like, are so impressive with what you were all able to accomplish, but the emotion of it really ringing through, and the balance of it, how you were all able to accomplish that is really tremendous. Talk about how you were able to accomplish that, how you were able to balance what you had to do from a technical standpoint, but really let the emotion of it bring through, come through in the end.
Um,
I mean, go on, Eric.
no, well, just from shooting, but maybe you want to start, Cappy, because this, you start you start the process. You present us with wonderful things to shoot.
Well, I mean, the first port of call was when I first started, was we had to work out what the costumes were going to look like on the monkey, and work out how we could plot all the character, all his outfits, and then we would address the rest of the characters accordingly. So we got a digital render, 3D render from Weta, from Luke and Andy, and we drew all the costumes so we could sort of, because obviously Jono was in a mocap suit all the time. We didn't actually have him in situ in the costume as such. So we had to sort of visualize it and work out how it was all going to sort of map out. And as you guys were saying, Michael's very much about plotting and planning. So we plotted and planned a lot and worked out exactly to a certain degree. And then obviously once the edit happened, things changed a bit and moved around, and as it does. But it was just all about kind of creating the visual looks of Robbie, and then everything else fell into place after that, which was also, not a small feat either, I might add. But it was, yeah, it was.
Imagine
that
not.
was the sort of the starting process.
Yeah, and I guess for them and receiving, seeing on in sketches and photography, because we didn't, a lot of it we didn't receive, for Jono, but for everyone else, I slightly treated it like a low budget kind of kitchen sink drama, which is really, that was my approach. Like we'd shoot in Wales somewhere. And, it was like that was my thing, just go for, that was the whole thing. Just the character, and following the character and just saying, okay, Jono, he's the guy we're following. And for all the camera work to be based around that, apart from in the, the more fantastical musical numbers, but everything else feels like it comes from that, how we'd shoot a regular character based drama, and not trying to make it more fancy than that, because otherwise it feels like you take a little, you step away from it.
I think that very much comes through. What were some of the particular challenges that you faced? Was there any scene that was particularly difficult? I mean, you've got some pretty elaborate set pieces that you accomplished.
For filming, all of them.
Fair enough.
No, but a lot of the, I mean, because musical numbers, they're the main ones, and we do a lot of work. We'd shoot part of it in Melbourne, and then we'd recreate the same shots and get the same the camera and the lighting and the timing and all that the same 6-9 months later in a different country to fill in with real crowd. That was my kind of, that was the fun bit, and trying to get all these very specific shots on a real concert that Robbie would put on in Melbourne, and we need to get all those angles and then drop the boy band shots that take that bands in exactly at the right time at the right place. That kind of thing was that was the kind of technical big challenge.
Regent Street was certainly a challenge as well, wasn't it? When we first tried to film it. And
how did that go?
So we went over there and prepped for it, and we're ready to go. I think basically we were going to start shooting night shoots on the Sunday, and on the Thursday before the Queen died, so we got shut down and had to pack everything up and go. Well, we went to Serbia, but to keep going, but we couldn't complete what we went to achieve. So we ended up doing it again 3 months later. No, not even.
Yeah, more than that.
4 months later, maybe.
Yeah.
But
that was another big challenge.
That was a big challenge. Yeah, but it just works so seamlessly in the film. Like you wouldn't know what went into that, really.
Yeah.
Well, we know, but we remember. But it honestly, it's just incredible. That whole sequence. It really, it's amazing.
It's a pretty good moment, isn't it?
One thing I would add about just sort of the general way we approached it is I really didn't want the visual effects team to come in and sort of new to the process a little bit. And this is a conversation Erik and I had up front about, traditionally, let's say, the VFX team love very clean photography, smooth camera moves, not shooting through things. And that was all those things is exactly what Erik already wanted to do with the visual look of the film. And so, we plan to sort of work with that. We plan to work with shooting into light sources and uncoated lenses and flaring of the lens, which makes the work a lot trickier in terms of integrating Robbie, but it also makes it that much more rewarding because when you look at the frames, you're like, well, this isn't what you're used to, this isn't how people normally do this. Um, and on set as well, I think right up front, I was really keen on, even though we were probably the biggest department on the show, being as anonymous as possible. So everyone goes about their work the way that they usually do, and we will gather all the things that we need, but it's we try and take a little bit more of a sort of a anonymous approach to it, so that we got a great performance from Jono, but it wasn't just Jono, it was obviously everyone else around Jono as well. If we can create the best looking Robbie, but if the actors around Robbie aren't convincing, then the thing doesn't work. So I didn't want tennis balls on sticks. We didn't want to stick sort of fake eye lines on Jono's chin and expect everyone to look at those instead. Everything was sort of designed and shot as though Jono, where he is, but Jono as he was on set is the person that's in the movie, and then that makes our job of integrating Robbie the ape into the photography that much easier because he just naturally fits into that space. And that was, definitely the MO for this picture.
I think that
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
go on, Will.
I was just gonna say, I think that aesthetic kind of carried through the whole process. Sort of this like, it's sort of a beautiful, messy reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very lived in film, but it's also very beautiful. It's not idealized, but at the same time, it's very sumptuous, right? And I think, a lot of what we were trying to do sonically was support what these guys had all done visually, but also try to make the sonic world breathe and move rhythmically and tonally with the music, because the music is such a big part of this film. So we spent a lot of time trying to make sounds swing with the music in this way that made them almost feel like they're part of the music. Like for example, the big street, scene that we're just talking about. That if you listen to that scene, hopefully you don't think about it when you're watching it, but if you listen to it, everything happens on the beat. A motorcycle comes into frame and it, stops right on the beat. And I can't imagine what went into shooting it in the first place. But we put a lot of effort into making things sound like they look, which is to say that they're swinging with the music. And I think that that's something that obviously Michael was able to get us all to make the same movie together, which is, that's the biggest challenge of any director, is like, how do you get all these artists to make the same movie? And I think that says a lot about who he is as a cheerleader, and as he's really good at marshaling a lot of creative energy in the same direction. But I was really inspired by what this whole crew did visually. So we wanted to try to carry that forward towards, the post-production and mix side of things.
And was the same thing true with all of the singing? How did you pull off some of the musical performances?
It was, I mean, that you'd be amazed at how many different things are contributing to the sound of Robbie's voice. A lot of it's Jono, a lot of it's Robbie. Some of it's pre-record, some of it's on set, some of it's recorded after an ADR. Some of it was even, manipulated in post-production to sound more like Robbie. I mean, there's, and then of course we have Robbie at different ages throughout the film. So there was a ton of work that went into making sure his voice, which was often Jono. So a lot of that's performance, but there's so much that goes into this stuff to hopefully make it feel completely transparent. The audience should never have to think about it. Same as everything else that's happening, on this call. It's like we do all this work in service of the audience feeling a certain way without hopefully noticing, the strings moving, right?
For sure. That's why I'm sort of hesitant to ask too many questions because I don't want to unpack it too much. The
Right.
magic of it is,
Yeah.
you like once you buy into it, and then you don't want to think about it too much. I mean, the thing that's so amazing about it is once you suspend your disbelief, you're in, and then you just buy him and you're along for the ride. And then you're just on this journey and he is Robbie, and then that's it. And you're on this emotional journey for 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, one thing which we, you know, was definitely something was different for us on this show is Robbie is Robbie is represented as a chimp, but essentially in the film he's human. You know, the way he talks, the way he sings, the way he dresses, the way he styles his hair, the way he interacts with everyone in the scene, and the way everything he does is essentially human, but just represented as a sort of digital ape. And I think that's very key to what you were just saying there, Deborah, about how you do suspend your disbelief and you buy into it because everything that you're seeing about the way the performance is familiar. You know, it's things that we sort of intrinsically know as humans that interact with each other. And that was something we were very conscious of. And we did experiment at one point with trying to make him more ape-like at some points in his performance, especially when he was on drugs and alcohol. That was something we played with, but it started to just snap you out of the character, you know. So then we just always ran back to the that kind of more human performance that Jono gave throughout, and yeah, and I think that's one of the big parts of as I was saying as to why when you buy into it, you know, the digital makeup falls away and you just see Jono's performance. Yeah.
I think there also has to be a lot of trust in all of you and working together as you're making this film because you're not seeing the final product as you're going through it, but you're just sort of trusting in the end result that you know that this is going to be something special at the end. Did you all have now that you've seen the final result, do you have a favorite moment or a moment that you're proudest of?
I know for me, the thing that I'm most proud of is actually not one moment in the movie. Normally, you know, when we work on pictures, you work on your key shots or your big set pieces, and you know, they're the ones that get a lot of the attention. And then other bits, you know, less so, you know, some of your more bread and butter stuff. But with this picture, the thing that we had to do is everything had to be at that same level, you know. You couldn't, we drop the ball on one scene, then the audience is snapped out of it and the illusion is shattered, right? So it's not one key moment, but the fact that the whole film was all raised up to a certain level, and we maintain that consistency throughout. And we work differently internally to be ensure that we did that, and to make sure that we were able to deliver it in the time frame that we were supposed to. But now when I watch the movie, you know, it's not like, oh, this moment or this moment. It's just that whole journey you get from young Robbie all the way to Robbie standing on the stage of the Royal Albert Hall.
Cappi?
For me, I think what I'm the most proud of and what I love about this movie is the seamless transition with the costumes on Robbie, like, and that's all to Luke, really. I mean, it's just the way it all came together. It's just like I've had people comment who've seen the movie and just can't work out how the costumes look so real. And I haven't told anyone how we did it because that's not for me to say. And it's obviously it's the magic of Weta and Luke. But just watching how the fabrics and the textures and the movement of all the clothing on Robbie is just mind blowing for me, knowing how we did it. Just the end result. That was for me, I think one of the highlights of the movie, definitely.
One thing I'll
I've
just add
even,
there. Sorry,
yeah,
Eric. Just
I,
you know, even though all the costumes are digital in the film, Cappi and her team made all of them, sourced all of them, borrowed all the costumes, the physical, real pieces, which we then scanned and replicated. And then after we wrapped shooting, Cappi gave us this incredibly thick ring binder, which we dubbed the costume Bible of all the materials and what Robbie should be wearing in each scene. And I have to say, we did follow this thing religiously, so that all the
Yeah.
work that Cappi and the costumes department put into it was faithfully replicated on the screen.
Amazing.
It really
I was
was,
just
and it was
gonna.
just such a great process. Sorry, Eric.
I just want to add one thing. I just had a chat with a visual effects supervisor who's seen the film and said, well, obviously, sometimes you just did, face replacement for Robbie because that must be real costumes. You can't, surely that must be the
Yeah.
real. There's no way you would make those in CG. So yeah, I was.
Yeah.
We know better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, what's your proudest moment? What's your favorite
Um,
moment?
I mean, again, as Luke said, there's so much, there's so many of them. But I remember distinctly standing at the second time on Regent Street, or actually when we finally got to go there, and the very last shot when we crane up and see all the
Yeah.
dancers. That was a pretty good, and it was, you know, we got a couple of okay takes, but we really didn't quite have it, and we needed to be at whatever 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. We needed. That was it. We were done. And at 5:59 and 30 seconds, we turned over for the last time. But just you go, "Oh, this is, that was and we managed to get the one that's in the film, I presume, that was a good moment when we finally got, and that was the cap on that long, long, long adventure, which, I've been, the Regent Street debacle, which I've only been, we've been planning for quite a while. That was a good, yeah,
That was a good one.
that was a good one. I felt almost as elated after shooting it as I do watching it, because it's a good moment.
And Will?
For me, it's not a specific moment, but a specific concept, really. There's this thing throughout the whole film where Robbie hears voices in his head, sort of questioning himself. It's sort of his insecurities talking to him, right? Michael called it the versions, because he would have these different versions of himself that he would sort of hear talking to himself and see talking to himself. And we were trying to figure out sonically how to approach this because we didn't want to do anything that had already been done before. Because that's such a kind of a trope in movies, to hear the echoey, sound of your own voice in your head kind of thing. So we tried adding all kinds of stuff to it and, warping it around and whatever, and, adding all kinds of weird stuff to it. And it just, Michael's like, it's not quite it, not quite it, not quite it. And this went on for weeks, months actually. And I was just banging my head against, how can we like do this? And literally in this room at like 3 a.m. one night, I was like, okay, let me just take everything away. Okay, let's strip everything out. And rather than add stuff, let's take things away. And then I got this wacky idea to like these things always happen as he's singing. And I was like, well, what if we actually do this by like manipulating the music itself? Since that's such a big part of the story and that's such a big part of who he is. And so what we ended up doing was basically taking it and having the music kind of melt sonically. So you'll hear it kind of playing along and then, you'll hear it go, and like his voice stays steady, but the music kind of melts under him and it gives you this feeling of like, the floor is falling out. And it's one of those things that I've never heard that done that way in a movie before. And as soon as I heard it, I actually, woke up my girlfriend. I said, "Hey, come listen to this. I think this is cool. Is this cool?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's really cool." So we sent it to Michael, and luckily he also thought it was really cool. So then of course, then we had to figure out how to do it for the whole rest of the movie because I'd only done it for one scene. This is the problem with doing, anything conceptual is like it works for one moment, and then you have to figure out how to make it work for every other moment in the movie, right? But that was one of those 3 a.m. Epiphanies that it was just really satisfying, maybe partly because of how it happened.
Well,
I wondered how that was. Very good. Oh,
Yeah.
it's good to hear.
See?
Yeah.
This is why we brought you together so you could learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Again,
Uh,
congratulations on the film. Really tremendous, and looking forward to getting the world to see it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much. It's
everyone.
nice to see you all. Hope to see
Yeah.
you soon
Nice
at
to
some
see you
other
all.
thing. And nice to meet you, Will.
Yeah, and congrats on the actors, everybody.
This is this is very exciting, and of course, this is yeah. I just wanted just for Luke as well to allow us to shoot it in the way we wanted was like, yeah, that's everything. That's like the
Bravo.
and kudos to all your
Yeah,
compositors.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to end it on a
Yeah.
I was trying to get to the my way joke. You did it your way. There we go.
Yeah.
Stuck the landing. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Well, thanks,
Bye.
Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you.